Hey friends, thanks so much for jumping on and watching this video today. This is the Monday remix recorded on a Thursday this week because I was at a conference earlier this week, but I just wanted to revisit our message from this last Sunday called Take the Mask Off. We were looking at Luke chapter 6. And it's a pretty familiar verse of scripture where he talks about having a speck of sawdust talking about addressing a speck of sawdust in your brother's eye, but failing to see the beam or the plank or the log in your own eye. And it's talking about making sure, we were talking about making sure that we are following Jesus completely and not trying to hide behind a mask. And if you remember, if you were with us, I referenced a passage of scripture out of the book of Psalms. And Psalm 139 is one of the most famous scriptures in the whole book, I believe. And many times it's been quoted over and over again. But I just want to read to you today Psalm 139, verse 13 and following. And it reads this: "For it was you who created my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I will praise you because I have been remarkably and wondrously made. Your works are wondrous, and I know this very, very well." Your works are wondrous, and I know this very well. Sunday, we talked about putting a mask on in order to hide from others, in order to look and seem more righteous, more holy, more religious than we truly are. But I also think, here's the reality, ready for this? We put a mask on to hide from ourselves very often. We put a mask on our own heart, our own thinking, in order to hide from the reality of what's really going on inside of us. But this scripture here, Psalm 139, tells us, it reminds us, it actually declares who God has created us to be. He's created us remarkably and wondrously made. He knows our inward parts. Now this verse of scripture is actually also one of the foundational scriptures that we turn to in the conflict we find ourselves in this country and on the topic of abortion. We believe that God has implanted His DNA in every baby and every child. But throughout our life, we find ourselves competing with other people, with other ideologies, with the pressures of this world, trying to mask who we really are. And often we get caught up in masking ourselves from who we really are. And so I just want to remind you today, you are a child of God. You are a creation of the Lord Most High. It says it right here. He put you together. He created you in your mother's womb. He knows the very fiber of your being. There's other scriptures that says God knows how many hairs or lack thereof you have on your head. He knows the intricacies of the human heart, both from a scientific standpoint and how it beats and how it's formed, because He was there in the formation of it. But He also knows on a spiritual level where your heart is today. And so I want to encourage you, friend, don't hide from yourself. Don't mask over what God has created. Don't allow the enemy to convince you that you're not good enough, that you don't measure up, that no one would really like the true you. Because I believe as you're walking in the will of God, as you're serving Him, as you're worshiping Him, our true identity comes out. We become fully human in Jesus Christ. Sin robs us of that picture. Sin robs us of what Jesus has created, what God has created us to be remarkable and wondrous. I love another translation. The NIV says, you were created fearfully and wonderfully. That you are unique. You're one of a kind. God never created anyone else like you. Sometimes we're thankful for that, but other times we just need to be reminded that God has created us. And it goes on to say, your works are wondrous, And I know this very well. The psalmist had to remind himself that what God created in him was for purpose. So I want to remind you today, what God has created in you was for purpose. It's for a plan. It's for His purpose and His plan. Don't mask yourself from what God has created. Don't hide from what God has created in you. Live into that, lean into that, press into that, and allow God to use you.